The river becomes a part of your life. Very much so. There are people who love it and people who don't like it, and the people who don't like it move away from it. But the river itself holds a charm that's so different than almost anything else.
Well, my grandfather, Charles Binkley, really started this all. As a young man, he worked on the Ohio River in Indiana.
And then when he was in his late teenage years, like a lot of people at that time, he was seeking adventure and a different life and wanted to leave that area and started heading west and north and ended up in Seattle when the gold rush hit in 1898.
There was big talk about the gold rush up in Alaska. He went all the way to Seattle, worked his way up to Skagway, hiked over the Chilkoot Pass,
went over the top of the pass and joined the hundreds and thousands of other young men looking for the same. But instead of becoming a gold miner, he became a builder and operator of boats. And that's where he got his start, and that's how he made his name in the North. And from there, the rest is history.
Working on the boats was exciting for me. I can't remember when I didn't want to be a riverboat driver, because I grew up in that atmosphere. And I had heroes in the early days who were the captains of the gold rush.
Captain Jim, my grandfather, is Charles Binkley's son.
Captain lost Charlie at a young age, so he never really got to know his father. He had heard, though, all the stories about his dad and these great adventures and experiences that he had had running boats in Canada and Alaska, and those really stuck with him.
In 1940, he moved to Fairbanks to go to the University of Alaska, and that's where he met my mother, Mary Binkley.
About the only person nicer than the captain was Mary B., and she's still with us to this day, and the nicest lady in the whole world.
Well, let's see. I met Jim in 1946 on campus. It was my 20th birthday. I thought he was very nice, tall and handsome and had a big smile. A special thing that I was interested in is that he was a riverboat pilot.
I have great memories of being young and spending my summers in Fairbanks with my grandfather and my grandmother, and I just remember riding around town with him running errands, singing songs and smoking cigars. I wasn't smoking, obviously, but he was.
My memories of him are him, on the microphone, leaning out of the wheelhouse. He could tell a story and just have people hanging on every word, and just affable personality that everyone fell in love with.
Oh, he was soft-spoken. He was a gentleman. He was sharp as a whip. He loved his place here. He loved everything about his life, and he was a great man.
When the freighting business began to die out in the late 1940s, tourism was just beginning.
A young couple here in Fairbanks that had a travel agency were starting to do tours up to the Arctic. And they needed something for people to do when they were in Fairbanks. And so he heard that my father was a riverboat pilot and approached him to start a tour business of some sort. And they thought that was a great idea.
The river work takes more than anyone can imagine to be able to do the things that you do. And it's constant. It never lets up on it, trying to get you all the time. But there's nothing quite so exciting, I don't think, as riverboating. It just gets to you.
The Godspeed was the beginning of our business. It was a boat that was owned by the Episcopal bishop. He had ministered to the villages of the Yukon River on a boat prior, and once he got his pilot's license, he started flying. Sold his boat to my grandparents. It was a little 17-passenger cabin cruiser.
I think in their first year of doing business, they probably carried about as many passengers as we carry in a single trip now today. The business slowly started to build. At that point, they realized we need a bigger boat.
They wanted something more authentic, really, to the history of river travel in Alaska, which was Sternwheeler. And so the captain set out to build Discovery 1.
Over time, they modified Discovery 1. He cut it in half and he lengthened it so he can carry more passengers. He added to the width of the boat so he could carry more passengers. And at a certain point, he couldn't modify it anymore, knew he needed a larger vessel.
Discovery 2 was a recycling project. He had an opportunity to purchase this old vessel called the Utana. Tore it all down to the hull, rebuilt the superstructure on top, and turned it into a full-fledged sightseeing vessel.
In the 80s, tourism in Alaska started to change. For the first time, the big cruise lines were venturing across the Gulf of Alaska. The family started to realize that tourism in Fairbanks was going to start to grow.
So we went out and found a shipyard, Nichols Brothers Shipyard in Whidbey Island, Washington, and we partnered with them to design and develop Discovery 3, a modern sternwheeler specifically purpose-built for sightseeing in the Chena River.
I had great admiration and respect for the native cultures. There was a dependency one upon the other, and I was impressed how families worked together. Remarkable thing to watch.
From the very beginning, it was really the concept of both my mother and father was to focus on the cultures of the interior, and that was primarily the Athabascan people. And so that was the basis of the tour in 1950 when they started, and it still is today.
On every one of our tours, we stop at the Chena Village, and we've set it up as kind of a replica of what Athabascan village may have looked like 100 years ago.
The Chena Village we created back in the 80s, and that was really a replica of the original Chena Village down off the Tanana River that existed in the late 1800s and early 1900s, and also an extension of Howard Luke's camp that we stopped at for many, many decades.
Because my knowledge growing up with traditional people, I did everything. I did the flowers, the garden. I would tan caribou skins over there, the leggings for boots. It was wonderful. It was great.
It's a place for our guests to be able to immerse themselves in that culture. They're shown around by authentic Native Alaskans, people who've lived here and in the villages their whole lives. And it's very important that they be the ones to tell that story. And they tell the stories that they've learned from their ancestors.
It's been fun to see the community grow, the state grow, the tourism industry grow, as well as our business for the last 75 years.
It's kind of rare, I think, for a guy my age in 2025 to be doing basically the exact same thing my great-grandfather was doing 130 years ago. I don't know how many people can say that today. And so hopefully my great-grandkids will be saying that 100 years from now.
The captain and Mary have said this many times, that they just never could have imagined in all their years that this is what it would be, that this could have grown into this type of organization and this type of success. And for Mary now at age 99 to come out to her front yard every day and see the boat go by and to get to wave to those guests, and it sure is satisfying to her.
The Riverboat Discovery retained the culture of Fairbanks. Our story hasn't disappeared. If you want to know the living history of Fairbanks and the river and pioneers of Alaska, it's at the Riverboat Discovery. And the Binkley family, I think in large part, are responsible for keeping the story of Fairbanks alive and contemporary.
I can remember being on watch on the Yukon River in the middle of summer, where the midnight sun would just barely dip to the horizon and come back again. The incredible peace and beauty that one sees on the river at that time, almost a religious experience. And I think people go away from our trip understanding more about what it's all about.
Well, really, this all started as a gold rush dream 5 generations ago. But I think our family has always looked forward. We're a group of riverboat captains, we're risk takers, and we're going to continue to bet on Alaska and this industry and the people that really make this state so special. I think on the river, every bend brings a new adventure, and we just can't wait to see what's next.